Hi, I'm Mary Beth Lynn, your systems and delegation coach, and I love getting to help travel advisors go from overwhelmed to being in control CEOs. I have a bunch of free resources for you as you go through Prep for Wave Week. You can scan the QR code or text the number below. I want to send you a couple really awesome things that are going to help you not be overwhelmed when the wave hits.
Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travefy does. Travefy gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travefy is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travefy.
Hi, I'm Tom Carpenter. I'm a travel industry attorney representing travel agencies and tour operators around the country. I'm also an agency owner, and I just want to give a quick thanks to Rita for inviting me to make some presentations for Prep for Wave Week. I'm glad you could join us, and so let's get into it. We're going to talk today about the whole problem of fraud in the travel industry. So the presentation, we're going to call it "Don't Get Taken for a Ride: Scam Proofing Your Sales When the Con is On." Fraud is a huge problem in the industry, and we're going to cover how to avoid it in this session. This is where you can find me if you need to get in touch with me. A few things to get out of the way first. Professional responsibility disclosures. This might be viewed as attorney advertising. I'm not intending to provide specific legal advice. This is just for general information purposes only. By participating in this session, we're not creating an attorney-client relationship, and prior outcomes don't guarantee future results. Just a little bit about me. I've spent most of my career as a labor and employment attorney in the entertainment industry, but I also represent travel agencies and tour operators around the country. I'm admitted to a number of courts around the country, including the U.S. Supreme Court. I have clients in almost every state, and I own a hosted travel agency myself, so I do the same things that you do. Okay, let's get into it. Travel is a high-risk industry. If you've seen other presentations I've done, you've seen a version of this slide, but we're really going to talk about the last point here, which is fraud and scams. Fraud and scams are scary things, but they can be avoided. So we're going to talk about those solutions to fraud and scams: having strong documents and policies, having a really tight workflow, how to recognize booking requests from scammers, how to protect your accounts, and best practices when you're collecting payment information and getting credit card authorizations. I'll have another session about that this week. And don't fall for phishing requests. So the first type of fraud, sometimes people call this friendly fraud, but it's chargeback fraud, which is basically where a client books a trip and then they decide they don't want to pay for it. So they use the credit card dispute process to try to reverse those charges. This is happening all the time. I think at least once a week I get a call from a travel agency owner that's facing this issue. And I think a lot of times when people reverse a credit card charge, I think they think that it's like some sort of satisfaction guarantee that that if they don't want to pay for their trip, they just call the credit card company and the credit card company will pay for it if they're dissatisfied. But what they're really doing is they're reporting it as a fraudulent charge. So if you're the agency and you used their credit card to make the payment with the supplier, it's sort of like they're accusing you of credit card fraud. That's a big problem. So the key to combating that is you need to get a credit card authorization for each and every charge. Every time you process a transaction, whether it's for your fee, whether it's for a deposit, whether it's final payment, if they're adding services, if they're buying insurance, for each and every one of those payments, you need to get an authorization every time you process the transaction. It needs to show the date that it was authorized, the amount being authorized, and the supplier or the product being booked. If you're using a good solid tech tool, they make it easy for you to get these authorizations. If you're using Travefy, Churn, TravelJoy, Vacation CRM, Vacation Creation, there are lots of them out there, and they all do this to one extent or another. But you need to get an authorization for each and every one. Don't take numbers by email or text. I would avoid taking them over the phone as well. You want to take them securely, and absolutely don't let your clients just say, oh, you've got my credit card number, just go ahead and charge it for the amount on the deposit, because then you're not getting a valid authorization. And you don't want to store your numbers, your clients' numbers rather, in an unencrypted system. So the key part of getting a valid authorization is that you need to have a terms and conditions document. And when we get to the part about credit card authorization language, you'll see why that is. But a terms and conditions document is an agreement between you and your client governing the terms and the conditions under which you're going to book travel for them. There are a few different provisions that I put into a terms and conditions document when I draft those for people. There will be another session on terms and conditions documents a little bit later. But I want to highlight two specific things. One is your role as an agent versus your role as an advisor. So as the booking agent for the suppliers, you are obligated to follow best practices when you're using your client's payment information to book a trip. So you're also their travel advisor, so you need to give your clients the best professional advice you can for them. So you're kind of in between, your travel agency is in between the supplier and the traveler. And that's a complicated place to be, but you want to make sure that when you're using your client's credit card to make a payment with the supplier, that you're doing that securely so that you're not in violation of your fiduciary duty to the supplier, that you're getting a valid authorization for each and every charge. But also, you want to have in your terms and conditions a document that advises your client that because you are using their credit card to make a payment with the supplier, that they can't do a chargeback, that they are agreeing in your terms and conditions document that they're not going to try to reverse the charge. And that if they do, you go to court, explain to the judge, Your Honor, this was not a fraudulent charge. I had authorization. Here's the proof. And I was damaged to the tune of whatever it is, because the amount of that disputed charge could wind up coming out of your pocket. So you want to make sure you've got terms and conditions that explain that to the client and that they actually agree to it. You're also going to want to have a reference to the fact that there are cancellation and refund policies in your terms and conditions document. And we'll talk about why that's the case in just a minute. So, and here we are. During the pandemic, a couple of years ago, the credit card companies changed the standard for authorizing credit, what constitutes a valid authorization. So now credit card companies are requiring that you have to have your clients agreeing to the agency's terms and conditions at the time that they authorize a credit card charge. Those terms and conditions have to include a reference to the cancellation and refund policies. And if your documents have been drafted correctly, they will. But you also have to have your clients agree that they understand that there are cancellation or refund policies in play at the time the charge is authorized. So if you don't have a terms and conditions document, if you're not having your clients agree to your terms and conditions as part of the authorization language, if your terms and conditions don't have a cancellation or refund policy, if you're not using the magic language that calls their attention to the cancellation and refund policies, all of those things are going to invalidate your credit card authorization language, and it's super important that you have a valid authorization. So here's sample language that you can use. I'm authorizing the agency to charge my card referenced above in the amount on this invoice or the amount indicated. I agree to the agency's terms and conditions of booking, which are located at this link, including the suppliers and the agency's cancellation and refund policies, which may limit my right to a refund if I cancel or change my plans. That's a lot. That language is kind of chewy, but it's got what you need in order to win a chargeback dispute if your client tries to commit friendly fraud and reverse the charges. So I want to turn to another type of scam that we're seeing a lot, last minute request scams. This is when you've got a client that calls up looking for an expensive trip on relatively short notice. Maybe they're using a stolen card and they intend to use the ticket before they're caught, or maybe they're trying to exchange a refundable ticket or a refundable reservation for cash. There are some places in the world where you could do that. What I'm seeing now, and this has happened to a few clients of mine, scammers are now making legitimate low-value bookings first, and maybe they'll book a simple hotel by the airport, and they a hotel where they can check in online. The booking goes through without any problem, and then shortly on the heels of that, they follow up with a high value booking, and that's where the agency gets scammed. So best practices here, I think you should just say no to these last minute bookings, frankly. Any requests for premium class, international, or multi-stop itineraries where the client doesn't seem to be sensitive to price. If there are unusual email domains or contact details that don't match the client's profile. Clients who are asking to pay with multiple cards or cards that are in somebody else's name. Um, Reluctance to complete your intake form or verify their identity. This is the big one, non-refundable ticket requests. Scammers don't want to have to deal with cancellation alerts, so they book non-refundable tickets. And requests for travel that originate outside of the US. That's where a lot of these scams come from. If you don't see spelling and syntax errors, that is no longer a red flag. I think we've all become familiar with the emails that come from a Nigerian prince.
Rita swooping in to let you know that was the secret word, Prince. It's a great one, right? Prince is your secret word for this session. So make sure you write that down. All right, let's get back to Tom.
Say, hello, dear, and then it's really weird, flowery language and spelling errors and all of those sorts of things. Scammers used to use those errors as a way of weeding out the savvy people so that they could scam the easiest and less sophisticated of us. But scammers are increasingly using AI to sound legitimate so that they can scam even people who are paying attention. So they can use AI to generate or impersonate voice calls. So if you're doing a phone call with your client, it's possible that you're talking to an AI-generated person. Video avatars that look realistic, even if you do a video call, and they can do mock-ups of credit cards and passports as well. So the best practice is really just to decline any last-minute booking from a client that you don't know. And think about it this way. Somebody who is sophisticated enough to find your small business on the internet, they're sophisticated enough to book a flight, an expensive flight on their own using Google or Expedia or whatever. So just be mindful of that. And my suggestion would be don't take a last minute booking. I want to talk about phishing scams. Phishing scams are fraudulent emails or websites that are designed to trick you into revealing your login credentials or other sensitive information. AI can make these sound really legitimate too. And they're not necessarily stealing your login information to make fraudulent bookings. They could be stealing it to actually commit identity theft. So it's a big problem. I want to show you an example of something that I got in my agency. Somebody sent me this email. Hey, Thomas, just following up on my invitation from earlier. I didn't get the invitation earlier, actually. Let me know if this is something you'd be interested in. Creating some sort of urgency. Oh, they've already tried to reach out to me. I might have missed the ball. They're inviting me to be on their podcast, and they want me to talk about the top 3 mistakes that ruin direct bookings in the face of rising ad costs. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy, I think. I don't even know what that means. But if you're an agency owner, you want to get free publicity, right? You want to be out there. So the improbably named Nicolina Cristo is inviting me. And if you scroll down, oh, look, somebody named Caitlin found me on LinkedIn. Reach out to Thomas. Hey, Nicolina, I was searching for a possible guest, and I came across Thomas from Huckleberry Travel. This looks like someone who'd add real value. Definitely worth reaching out. Caitlin Friedman. Okay. So, if I'm eager to get publicity from an agency, I'm going to follow up on this. I do a little bit of research just to make sure, who are these people? Oh, well, Dion AI agency, they have a LinkedIn profile, and Nicolina Cristo is attached to it. But look at this agency. There's only one associated member. So where's Caitlin? Well, basically, it's not just travel agencies. This is something I got in my law practice. Our colleague Caltrin found me on LinkedIn, and they wanted one on legal issues. And then you can scroll down. Caltrin said, "I was looking for possible guests. Definitely, this looks like somebody who would add real value. Definitely worth reaching out." Right. So what they do is get you to respond to that. They build a level of trust. You go back and forth. Maybe they send you a calendar link to set up an appointment with them. You enter you set up an account, enter your email, and create a password. And from there on, that's the first step in them getting information about your personal um, habits. If you use the same password over and over again, huge mistake. But once they figure out how you create your passwords, it's pretty easy for them to hack your accounts from there. The same thing happens with text messages. You've probably gotten these in text messages. If you get these things and you're able to recognize them as a scam, your name's not Camilla, and you're not going to Washington on business. You don't know anybody named Anna. Don't try to scam the scammer. Don't play along with them. Don't try to troll them, because the more you engage with them, the greater the likelihood is that they're going to figure out enough information about you to get into your accounts. I want to also talk about being careful when you're wiring money to suppliers. In the travel industry, more vendors are requesting wire transfers to avoid credit card chargebacks. Phishing scams targeting wire instructions are on the rise. So if you get information to wire your client's money to a supplier, but some hacker has gotten into your email and figured out that you're expecting wire transfer instructions, it's really easy for them to send you fraudulent instructions so that you send your client's money to the wrong account. Once that's done, it's almost impossible to get that money back. So my suggestion is, if you're doing a wire transfer on behalf of a client, start with a very small test transfer. Just send them maybe $100 to see if it goes through. Once it goes through, call the supplier on the telephone to confirm that it was received, and then follow up with an email for written confirmation. And keep in mind that at any point, you could be getting a telephone number that is not actually the telephone number for Viking Cruises, for example. And I use Viking because they're giving discounts to people who do wire transfers. And make sure you're not looking at the email that's on the transfer request. Make sure you're going back to your actual supplier email and following up with the actual supplier, rather than the person who sent you the wire transfer request. So small test transfer, if that goes okay, then you know you've sent it to the right person, and you can send the balance in the next payment. So here are the things you can do to avoid being phished. Put two-factor authentication on all of your accounts. I know it's annoying to have to enter the 6-digit code, but it's going to help you avoid these problems. Don't click on links from unsolicited email, and I would say don't even respond to unsolicited email. It's not just the podcast invitations; it's also SEO for your website. It can be all sorts of things. If you don't know who's sending you the email, then don't respond to it. Don't engage. Change your passwords regularly. Don't reuse your passwords. Don't let yourself be flattered that you're so important that they want you on their podcast, because you're a small business. There are millions and millions of travel advisors out there. There's no reason that they come to you specifically, no matter how good you are at what you do. Keep your software and your patches updated. Use antivirus software and anti-phishing software on your devices. Don't click respond or open attachments. And when you get emails from Nicolina Cristo or the like, report them, block them, and delete them. Okay, so that's what I've got for you today. The key takeaway here is that all of this can be managed. You don't have to be a victim of a scam. Make sure you're getting valid authorization for each and every charge with the correct language. Make sure you've got solid terms and conditions, and that you've got a workflow that includes getting that credit card authorization each and every time. Don't take last-minute bookings. Screen your new clients, and don't let yourself be phished. So that's what I have for you today. Thanks so much, Rita, for letting me participate this year. Again, it's been a pleasure to talk to all of you. And if you need me, you know where to find me. Thanks so much.